What I love about New Albany is the 4th of July parade.
Sports.
Starbucks. My other home.
Very supportive to my business, and I think businesses in the area kind of all look out for each other.
Everything.
Dr. Shirck, how you doing?
Fantastic. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no problem. How do you feel about doing a podcast?
So I've done one podcast interview in my life. It was like 4 years ago, maybe. It was an orthodontic specific podcast that one of my friends had, where he just interviewed people in the industry, whether it be orthodontists or like vendors that support it. But this is like way more high tech. Before, it's funny because I texted you. I was like, "Oh, do we just like jump on a phone call?"
Are you just gonna call me?
Yeah. So like 4 years ago, that's really what it was. It was like an app.
Yeah, I think a lot of people do podcasts like just virtually. Mm-hmm. But I mean, with this one being hyper local,
yeah,
I'm like, we need a place to meet. So,
yeah, for sure.
And I have to mention Brick House Blue.
Yeah,
I mean, this place is awesome.
It's impressive.
It is. It's funny because like I don't know however many people I've brought in now, and they're like, I had no idea this was here.
I mean, we were just talking about like I drive by it almost every day.
Yeah,
I had no. I mean, it just looks like an office building.
Yeah,
it's awesome for anybody that's never been over here. Take a tour. It's incredible.
Yeah, it is. It's a cool spot. And there's literally a lounge area with complimentary drinks.
Yeah, today's Waffle Wednesday.
Yeah,
you have like waffles. It's awesome.
Chicken and waffles.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. So, where do you want to start? Where I'd like to start is like who you are, your family, ties to New Albany. You could do it in any order that you want. We just want to get to know Dr. Shirck.
Sounds good. I am a Columbus guy. So I grew up in Worthington. I went to Worthington Kilbourne High School and ended up staying at Ohio State for undergrad. Ended up staying at Ohio State for dental school, and then ended up staying at Ohio State for residency. And then, I was getting close to 28 when I was about to graduate. And at that point, we decided we wanted to start a family, and this is where we wanted to be. There was a period. My wife's first job was with CNA Insurance, which is headquartered in Chicago. And she went out there for like a training seminar. They put, I think it was like 80 trainees up at a apartment in on Michigan Avenue. And so in the summer, so it's like 80 22 to 23-year-olds where they just like, have class from like 8 to 4 every day, and then they just get to go out in Chicago. And so she's like, "We're moving to Chicago when you get done." And it would sound great until I ended up doing all this schooling and then decided, Columbus is a great city. She's from Cleveland, so it was really coming down to between Cleveland and Columbus where our families were. But Columbus was growing then; it's growing,
crazy.
At a crazy clip now. We're super happy that we stayed. So, when I was coming out of residency, it was March. I graduated March of 2009, which was a really bad time to graduate, and come out needing a paycheck. So there were, no orthodontic practices that were going to be sold because most people lost a lot of money in the stock market, and people who had maybe thought about retiring were deciding they're not going to retire. Yeah. So my wife, Zhenya, at that time worked at L Brands, which they have different headquarter locations, but the one that she was at was on East Broad, and so we lived in Gahanna. And so the two fastest growing areas up to that point were Pataskala and Marysville. And Pataskala was very close. Marysville was very far away. So we're like, okay, if I have to start up a location in order to employ myself, then I'll do that. So we started Shirck Orthodontics, and like I was building it out while I was finishing my residency. So I graduated March of 2009, and we were open for business April of 2009.
Wow.
Yeah, it was incredibly stressful.
Wow. So you weren't even done yet.
No, not at all. Yeah. So
talk about scary.
Terrifying. Yeah. Terrifying. And then, our oldest son Jake was born September 2009. So we had like a baby on the way, like terrible economy. It was a lot of stress. And you're getting all this debt. You have all the student loan debt. I mean, thank God she had a job at L Brands, because she could pay our bills. But it was like incredibly stressful time. So
she wanted to go to Chicago, and here she is stuck in Pataskala.
Yeah. But Pataskala's awesome. It's I never would have thought what Pataskala's become, what it would be. So, I remember picking Pataskala, and they used to publish this thing on their city's website, like the master plan, and there was going to be growth. There was supposed to be like a Walmart and a Kohl's that were going on 310 and all this stuff, and the community didn't want that to happen because they wanted to keep it more rural. I don't think anybody could have predicted, the New Albany company buying up all that land that's technically like Pataskala, Jersey Township, I guess is what it would be. And it's like, man, so in 2012, we opened the New Albany office, and then we moved from Gahanna to New Albany. Actually, we moved a day before Jordan, who when my 12-year-old son was born. And so we opened that.
You got a knack for timing.
We always joke that, so we have 5 locations, but we have 3 kids. And for a while, every time we had a kid, we opened an office. And then after 3, we were like, yeah, this is a lot. But we still kept going with a couple more offices. But yeah, I used to be able to.
That was economically sound decision.
So I just had this conversation with my son, Jake, the oldest one, because I'm trying to teach him financial fitness. And, kids nowadays, they have video scrolls all the time. And so he was asking about Dave Ramsey, because apparently, they must be on his algorithm, and so
there could be worse people to be on.
Oh, 1,000%. He's asking me Dave Ramsey, and he's like, can you believe some of the stupid things people do with their money? I'm like, yeah, but debt, all debt is not equal. And so I tried to explain to him, student loan debt for the right reasons is good debt.
Yeah. Starting
a business, good debt. If you have no money and you're buying a crazy expensive car that you can't afford, bad debt, you know? And so, I drove a 1998 Toyota Corolla until it forever. My staff always had nicer cars than me, but it was paid off, and it was my wife's car originally, and it just, I could never justify getting a new car. So I stopped changing the oil. I was like, this car needs to die, and it just would not die. And so finally, I just gave in to it. I was like, this is never gonna die, and we had 2 kids. I'm like, that's why I need a new car. We need more room than the Corolla can afford me. But
it's funny you say that, because I am limping my truck along, and now I refuse to stop. I'm going to drive this truck forever.
Totally.
I love it. I've toyed with new trucks and looked at new trucks, and I can't. I just had the front end rebuilt, which now I'm like, talk about financial fitness. I'm like, all right, if I pay X for a truck or borrow whatever or pay cash for whatever, and then what can I put into this truck and what can I get out of it? And I don't know if it makes sense. Right now, it absolutely doesn't, because I spent $3,000 to have the front end rebuilt. But I'm going to keep going just out of principle. It's a game now.
Yeah. So that's a good, when you can reframe it so it's a game, so you feel good about it.
That's right.
So that was it. It was me against this Corolla. It was never going to die, and I was going to stop taking care of it, and we'll see who wins. It's going to die. And no, it definitely won. But so, So, when talking about financial fitness and stuff, I think kids nowadays, there's so many more things to spend money on than when we were kids.
Oh,
and
yeah.
So, and especially, there's this expectation, I think, amongst a lot of kids. I'll just speak about my kids. They're in all these different sports, and so it's like, well, hey, I want to do this camp. And it's like, forget about how much it costs, right?
Yeah.
And I want to do this, I want to do that. My son Jordan, I need a new lacrosse stick, obviously. I'm like, but that other one's fine. He's like, no, it's all bent up, And
I've been slashing everybody.
Right. It's like, I don't know. It still works, right? And it's tough, actually, teaching really good, I think, money management, because it feels good to spend money. For sure,
absolutely.
It feels good. But it's a fleeting moment, and then you're stuck with the debt. So, I'm super fortunate to have picked a good spouse where, I think she's really taught me the value of money. I'm not sure I had a great grasp of it. I think I was one of those dumb 18-year-olds that got a credit card for I don't know, you got a free pizza or something like that. I don't know. It's so stupid.
My
right?
first credit card was, I was at an Ohio State game in college, and I think they were giving away towels.
Yeah.
And so I got an Ohio State towel, and I got a credit card. And it was the next week I got a speeding ticket. And I was like, can I use this to pay for my speeding ticket?
Yeah. And, one of my cousins, So she racked up kind of a decent amount of credit card debt, and her brother was like, yeah, she thinks as long as she pays with her credit card, it's not real. And I remember like he was joking about that, and I was thinking like sometimes it felt that way when I was a kid.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know? Or a kid, 18. I mean, but Zhenya, so she was born in Ukraine and moved to the United States when she was 9 to Cleveland, and so they came to the United States with no money. Actually, it was $100 per person. So she's an only child, so they had $300 for their family.
Wow.
Came to the United States. Neither parent could speak English. I mean, just like incredible challenges. Their degrees from the Soviet Union, which are engineering degrees, didn't transfer here. So like her mom would work in a bakery during the day and go to night school. Her dad would work as a roofer during the day and go to night school. I mean, it's crazy. So then
What part of Cleveland?
Mayfield.
Okay.
Mayfield High, East Side.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's like a pretty big, Eastern European community. So like, so she's from Ukraine, but there's a lot of people from Russia and Belarus and, Slovenia and, a lot of those Eastern European countries. So, so when she came to Ohio State, everything was on her. I mean, she had 3 jobs to pay for college herself, everything. She's very self-sufficient and was super good at money management. So we started dating at 19 years old, and so I'm 44, so we've been together a really long time.
Yeah.
And so she, I think, really taught me budgeting. Which is, I say that like it sounds silly, but like it's a real skill that I'm not sure I really would have learned very well.
So the kids do so Sierra's going through the whole BizTown thing.
Yeah.
Which I love it.
It's cool.
Awesome. And she's like asking about checks. And so my wife still writes checks, and everybody makes fun of her, but like that's just how she likes to do it. She likes to sit down, write the checks, put them in the mail.
Yeah.
And so my daughter's like, you used to have to like keep track of how much money you had? And I was like, yeah. You'd keep a registry, and you would look and go, okay, I have this much money, and this is what I'm writing the check for. Now I have this much money.
Yeah.
Like that was a lot easier to manage.
Totally.
Way easier. So how do you talk about like coming, not having, generational wealth, right? And so you built what you have. We're all super fortunate to be in this community, and how do you manage that with your kids? Like I tell my kids all the time, tough times create hard men, right? Hard men create easy times create weak men.
Yeah.
And I just hammer that home to them, because when they ask for something that isn't necessary, whether we can afford it or not, you don't just go do it just because.
Yeah.
But you also I find myself, Sierra wanted a softball bat. So she's playing travel. She's been doing it for a while. And we have a hard rule in the house of you need to prove that you're going to stick a sport out and continue to do it before we're going to invest in it, because we have 4 kids. I spent $1,000 at Play It Again Sports this spring.
Totally.
And finally, we're like, you know what?
You need a new lacrosse stick because it got bent.
because it got bent.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you throw with it? Yeah. But I can't. I don't throw as far. Well, that's you, not the stick. So we got her a $500 bat for her travel team.
Yeah.
But so how do you balance that? What are your thoughts there?
God, it's so hard. So I didn't come from generational wealth, but I didn't grow up super poor at all. So my dad, who's retired, was a ear, nose, and throat doctor, but he grew up super poor. So his father was a Lutheran minister. My dad is one of 6 kids. Just grew up very poor. And so he always, his joke my whole childhood was he's a child of the Depression, which was his way of saying we don't throw things out. I remember when Jake was like an infant, we left a bottle out at outside, and all the milk curdled and it was nasty. And I was like, I'm throwing this away. And my dad's like, why would you throw away a perfectly good bottle? You just wash it. And I'm like, I know, but it's so gross. So my dad, definitely provided us a very good upbringing, but it wasn't just you got anything you want. I remember distinctly wanting Umbro shorts when I was a kid, and my dad saying, you definitely are not getting those. You're going to get the Kmart ones because they're a quarter of the price, and they're the same. And going to school and getting teased about why do you have fake Umbro shorts, But looking back, it's a pretty good lesson that you don't need to have like the fanciest things, whatever, because especially as kids, you grow out of it. So I feel like he did a good job of framing money that it doesn't grow on trees, and it's to be valued, and like think before you really spend. And so my dad, I have learned a lot from him when it comes to financial fitness, in the sense that like he was always opposed to a lot of debt, and so he did help me when I first opened up my first office, because everybody's trying to sell you on something, and my dad's given me lots of really good advice over the years, but he one thing he said at the time was pay people for advice, but never let anyone do your thinking for you.
Yeah.
And that was great, because if it doesn't feel right, like, don't do it. And so back then, I don't know how it is now for new grads, but back then it was very easy to get money. That's what put us in that financial, turmoil, right?
Yep.
And, like I could,
Anybody could get a loan.
You get a loan for like, no money down, you have, no credit, whatever, they'll do it. But like when you took a step back and you think like, is this smart? Even though these guys are selling me on this, is this a smart thing to do? Probably not. So I think that was helpful. So, he definitely, tried to mentor me in that. But then, for kids now, gosh, I don't know. It is really hard. We try hard. I think we fail in many ways to hold our kids to a standard, because it feels good to do nice things for your kids, right?
Yep.
And so, it's like we have chores for them. Do they always do them? No, and we still, I don't think we hold them as accountable as we want to be. But I guess at the end of the day, our number one rule of thumb is if you have good grades, that's your first job. And so
I like that.
So like if the grades start to fall, then privileges start to get taken away. So every kid, all our 3 kids have very good grades, and they're very well aware of that. So other things that we kind of make them do. So I don't have too many regrets in my life, but a couple for sure. And one of them is I was like terrible to my parents when they made me play piano when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And so I made it so miserable for them that they're like, fine, I'm not going to pay for you anymore. I don't want to pay for you to take piano lessons. And it's definitely a life regret. Like, I'm so jealous of when my sister, she kept playing. She can sit down at any piano and play 50 songs from memory.
Really?
And it's amazing. And it's like
Wow.
incredible. And I took maybe 5 years. I know where middle C is. That's it. It's terrible. And so, so there's certain things that we do make the kids do. So taking piano is one thing. They all hate it.
Yeah.
But it's just part of, they have to do it. And it's so nice. It's like, they're all good enough now that like when we make them practice, it's like a concert. So that's pretty cool. So grades, piano, and then need to stay active. So that would be, I don't care if they're like very good athletes, but they do need to stay active and try to make that a part of their life, just because that's a time management skill. Yep. And so it's like, I try to balance, being strict with chores with, being aware of their time, like there's so many hours of the day. And so, you see with your kids, I mean, they're asking to do these extra sports, these extra things. And then the sports themselves, we were talking about, DBAT as a business, cool business. I grew up playing baseball. They did not have that, when I was a kid. So like, baseball lasted like 3 months.
Yep.
And then there was no real off season. And now, there was a 9-month off season. You get to do other things. Now there's no real off season. So, there's
every sport's going year round.
Every sport's going year round.
Yeah.
And so it's like, for DBAT, that's awesome. I mean, I wished kind of previously that my kids played baseball because I love baseball, but now it's kind of a good thing that they all do sports that I don't know anything about. So I can't be that dad, because they're big into wrestling, and I try to learn wrestling, but I never did it. So, I never say anything to my oldest because he'll just roll his eyes at me like, dude, you never did it.
Yeah.
Like,
What do you know?
So it's cool. I get to be just
You should have just told him
a cheerleader.
Like a national champion wrestler.
Right, yeah. No.
Although now they can look it up.
Yeah, they can look it up, right? So, but like one time I took my son Jordan to DBAT, and I was like, this is amazing. What a cool facility. And so I could see like if if my kids did like baseball and I like baseball and you have this cool facility,
Oh, it'll get out of hand.
like sign me up.
In a
Here's
hurry.
my money, right? And so that just didn't exist, when I was a kid. You know,
Yeah,
I don't think so. It was a lot easier to get your chores done because there were a lot more hours in the day.
Yeah,
like.
no, 100%. It's weird with all this rain we had lately. There were some evenings where we didn't have anything, and it was like crickets.
Right.
Like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Like I don't know what to do with myself.
Oh yeah.
It's because you're just nonstop going. Which I'm with you. I think it's great. The kids they need that. Kids don't want to sit at home.
No. And, we've been lately, the past few years, we've been trying to take vacations that they're relaxing, but they're active. So like hiking vacations. So this spring
Yeah.
break, we went out to Utah and went to Canyonlands and arches and canyons and
Nice.
and Capitol Reef National Park. Yeah. So a lot of hiking, get them off their iPads and tablets and phones and stuff. So that's, I think that's super hard. I don't know. We're also not good at that. I'm so impressed with parents that are like, my kid, they're not allowed, to watch TV Monday through Friday, and then they get an hour on Saturday. Like, that's awesome.
I question how real some of that
Like,
is.
I wish I could do that, but it's just, I don't know. I feel like, okay, you're getting your work done. You have good grades. You've practiced piano. You've done all these things.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, your kids are
okay.
all playing sports every
Yeah,
season.
it's like,
I'm with you there.
Yeah. So, but yeah, so going back to the financial things, I don't know. I mean, I'm really hoping to expand on debt talk with them. So, see how this goes with Jake, with trying to explain what good debt is versus bad debt. Right now, because he was asking like, well, what about, those companies where, they reselling, like, there's kids his age that are like buying shoes and then
Yeah.
reselling them,
Yeah.
and they can make good money. It's like, okay, but like, think about the cost. So like, if you're spending $150 on those shoes and you can make $100 off them, if you can do that like overnight, amazing. But what happens for most stores, go look at that store that's over by Cinemark, it's a shoe store. There's no way they're moving every pair of shoes every week and get new ones in. So it's tying up all your money. And so now, in order to buy more shoes, you're getting more debt. Okay, so if you take out a business loan to buy more of those shoes, is it worth paying, an interest rate on that? And so there's all these different business models, and I can appreciate that. It's cool that kids are
Oh yeah, even thinking
about it for sure.
Like the best I got was like trying to sell candy bars in middle school.
Yeah.
Like, that was my education on business.
Oh, totally. Oh, there was this period where Jake, when he was like I think a 7th grader, he was buying like candy and he would sell it at school and making money. Then he got in trouble for it because like you can't do that, and he's like, what?
But there's a market.
Right.
Yeah.
He's like, what's the big? No one's heard. And so he told me, he tried to tell the teacher, like, I'll give you free candy. I was like, dude. Like,
Now he's bribing.
Now it's bribing with candy. No, but I think, there's something very nice about being like working in a small business. Corporate's awesome. They get a lot of great benefits, and like I don't get paid vacation. If I'm on vacation, like I don't make any money because I'm not seeing patients, and so there's that aspect that I know a lot of dentists that are my friends. It's hard to take vacation because it's not only the cost of the vacation, it's the cost of the loss.
It's the opportunity cost.
Yeah, the opportunity cost.
Yeah.
But at the same time, working in a small business, you do get some flexibility.
We're doing a podcast.
We're doing a podcast on
At
Wednesday.
noon.
Yeah. So, and there's also like, I don't know. I've never really worked in a corporate company in that way, but there's some satisfaction in having direct, responsibility for growth, and I guess maybe direct responsibility if things don't work out. If you make a bad decision, you're spending money on, this piece of equipment that was $100,000. You think it'd be great, and it's like, oh, we don't really use it.
Yeah, it's just collecting dust.
Yeah. So.
But sometimes it's nice to make those making those decisions on your own and owning it. Like that's what I want. Like I want to be able to make the decision, good or bad. Like I want to own that process.
Yeah. I think the kids, there's benefit to seeing, I think, a parent who is a small business owner, maybe, also they see like the grind of it, so it's like I'm seeing patients. Typically, I'll see patients 4 days a week, but I work so much more than that.
Yeah.
Like on the day off, normally it's like a day of doing like catching up on notes, like and working on just different projects, and that spills over to the weekend and all kind of stuff. So they do see it's definitely like a business ownership. It doesn't matter what you do. It's not a 9 to 5.
No.
And especially my wife like runs our practices now, and so it's. I feel like in many ways we're like always on. We're always talking about it.
Yeah,
constantly at all times. And we try to stop, but like I don't know. It's hard. It's kind of like become. It's a big part of our personality, I guess. And so I know people are always like dreaming of retirement, but I don't know. Work gives purpose, and I think retirement. My dad used to say he wanted to retire at 60. And my whole life, he said he was going to retire at 60, and then he ended up not retiring until he was 72. And it was kind of like, at that point, kids are grown. You're still good at what you do. You still like it.
Yeah.
Like, how much golf can one guy play?
Yeah. Yeah, you need something else to do.
You need something else. So, podcasting, maybe.
Yeah, there you go.
Get a podcast. But, no, so, with the kids, parenting's, there's no playbook, right? And so, it's like so fun.
It is, and I think it always comes down to like a balance, right? Like you want your kid to have good experiences. I want my daughter to have success in softball, and part of that is a bat. Believe it, like I'd have told you you're crazy 5 years ago, but the difference between $100 bat and a $500 bat is real.
Yeah.
But I do think like it's definitely a balancing act, and man, you get like one small victory, like thinking about the baseball bat thing. So played against Sports in Westerville. We're getting softball stuff for Gemma because she's trying softball. Jackson's trying lacrosse, so we're getting all the lacrosse gear. Mm-hmm. Vinny's upgrading some gear. Sierra needs, everything that she needs for travel softball. And I'm not kidding. It was like including the $500 bat still, but it was like $1,200.
Yeah.
And Jackson may never play again. I have no idea. Gemma may never play again. So, so we're in there. And at one point, I can't remember if it was Vinny or somebody was like, you know what? We're getting a lot. Like, I probably don't need this. And, like, went and put something back. And I was like, holy smokes.
That's awesome.
Like, that was huge. Huge. Small win, but huge in my mind.
Yeah. Did you, like, tell them after the fact?
Oh,
that
yeah.
You
yeah.
appreciate it?
100%. Yeah. That car ride home, I was like, I was so impressed with how they acted in there. They all got something, so maybe that's why. But
though, I mean, again, it's a memory that I'm sure he'll keep, just because it's like it pointed out. Just because you won it doesn't mean you should get it.
Yeah, exactly.
There should be a reason for it.
So, and I was with this. I always try to tell them like physical things, right? Material things. You said it, like, that's short-lived. Like, I'm like, Vinny, remember that drone you wanted? Where's it at? And he's like, it's in the closet. I'm like, exactly, but you would have sold a limb for that drone a year ago. This is what I do with them, and I don't know where I heard this, if I heard it somewhere, but I'd like to take credit for it. I don't know if I can, but I was like, how many, like, football cards do you want? He's like, I want them all. Like, how many, like, new footballs do you want in the house? All of it, like, as many as I can get. And then I'm like, how many moms do you want? Do you want a new mom? And he's like, no. I was like, well, don't you need another? Like, more of everything is better. And he was like, no, one's good. I'm like, how many more siblings do you want? He's like, I definitely don't want any more of those. and I was like, see, like that's what you value. Like, that's what's important to you. And you can't replace it. You can't add more to it. But if you buy a car, you're going to want a nicer car and a nicer car and a nicer car. And that's fine. But like, if that's what your fulfillment is there's gonna be a lot of disappointment there. But if you value a relationship, if you'd rather have a good friend than a new pair of shoes, then you're gonna have a life of fulfillment. Yeah,
it's weird nowadays with social media and how kids are exposed to it at a really early age. The celebrities on Instagram and athletes. I mean, even before, athletes could be your hero, but you really didn't see their day-to-day, every day.
Yeah.
It was really just, you see them at the ballpark, they look amazing, they're, in great shape, maybe they wear fancy clothes or something like that, but like, it wasn't a daily occurrence, right? And now, I guess, one worry I have for my kids is, and why we do talk about it, is like, those people are not your mentors. You know, like don't emulate them. You know, maybe emulate some of their work ethic, but we've tried like pretty hard, I guess, and maybe it's just come this way, but you know, to surround them with mentors that you know we believe in. So like I use my oldest as an example. So he's super into wrestling. He's super into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and he's super into like mixed martial arts. Yeah. And so that's like he trains 6-7 days a week year round, and he just loves it. And it's like the community that he gets surrounded by is like full of like really hardworking people. You know, they're not doing, at least the people that surround him, they're not doing stupid things on weekends. Yep. You know, these are adults grounded in reality and demand hard work. Yeah. And so, you know, make him work so much harder than I would, you know, if I was like, you know, that. And so I think there's something to be said for trying to surround your kids with positive mentors. So like our kids, for example, Jordan and Vinny, you know, with lacrosse. So like Brent Lewis, I had the opportunity to, you know, we got to coach with him in football. Yeah. And Matt McSweeney, same. Just great guys, right? And so it's like, you know, even if Jordan didn't love lacrosse, I mean, he loves it, but like, it's awesome. They're his main coaches, and he gets to be surrounded by two really good guys that are giving positive life advice that aren't me. Because, you know, a lot of times, you know, when it's your own kid, they'll roll their eyes
most
a little
of the
bit.
Time.
Yeah. So it's like, you know, and they're really fair and reasonable guys and push all the kids. And so, you know, even that in the sense of like trying to surround your kids with, you know, role models that are and mentors that are reinforcing the values that you're trying to hold at home.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so even, you know, going back to Jake with wrestling, so it's like, you know, he goes to Colin Palmer, and so that's a wrestling club in Blacklick, and Colin is a great guy, pushes Jake super hard. He goes to Gracie, Ohio. Robin Giesler's owner of that. He's got like 8 kids, and Mike McLean's one of the head instructors there. They're like 2 really influential people in his life. And so it's like these guys that he really looks up to, and thank goodness they're like good guys, right? You know? And so hopefully, you know, and he doesn't want to disappoint them, you know? Yeah. And so I think, you know, mentorship's important, and then at home having these conversations, you know, with kids, it's really hard. I don't know. I mean, like they're exposed to so many things, and you know, just my 10-year-old daughter, it's like she comes home and just some of the conversations that, you know, it's like they hear at school, like sometimes you're just not prepared for. And
especially at their ages.
Yes. Yeah. So, you know, parenting's not easy, but it's a lot of fun. You know, working in the community has also been fun. Like that was weird too, though, being a football coach this year or the past 2 years. So like how that started, I was sitting with Nate at Colin Palmer. This was a couple years ago, and I was telling him Jordan's gonna, you know, quit soccer and he's gonna switch to football. And he's like, "Oh, that's awesome." Well, you know, Nate's the 9th grade football coach, but because Hank's in that grade, that's why he was also the youth football coach. So he's like, "Well, I always need people to help. Do you want to help volunteer?" I was like, "Yeah, no problem." And then football season starting, and I get this email, and I was listed as assistant coach. I'm like, I don't know anything about football. And he's like, "Oh, you'll be fine."
To your point, though, like I found myself coaching. I'm helping with lacrosse. I don't know anything about lacrosse, right? But Matt McSweeney's like, "No, you're going to coach.
Yeah,
like, you're going to come out and help." And I love it. Like I just like being out there with the kids, right? So, and I think a lot of that, to your point, is just as important, if not more important, than like, especially in youth, having somebody that knows what they're doing is having quality people around them.
Oh yeah,
like that is way more important
for sure.
You can learn youth lacrosse. You can learn youth football. I mean. It's not that complicated.
Yeah. Although, I don't know, with the wing tee, they certainly tried to make it that complicated. I'm like, can we just get a playbook, please?
Nope, Coach Bush won't do it.
Nate's super anti-playbook. But
he's like, no, because then they'll just think of the playbook and they won't understand why.
Exactly.
Like, you're right.
I was like, yeah, but I can't answer any questions.
I need a playbook.
Can you give me a playbook? We won't tell anybody.
The kids can handle it. I cannot.
Yeah, but it was funny though, because like I'd go, like I spend all day, working. Well, 80% of my patients are kids. But there's plenty that like this is like even though braces is not a big deal in the sense of like it doesn't hurt. Like I don't even own a needle. It's just not that bad. This could be the first real dental thing a lot of kids have had because preventive dentistry is so much better now than it used to be.
Bubbles when you walk in.
Yeah.
It's like, they're so well taken care of. They're not getting teeth drilled on very much.
Right. So they'll like, they'll be freaking out and I should be like, you're doing great. And they're like, and then I was supposed to turn that side of my personality off where I'm like, you're doing great even if they're not doing great, and then go to football. And even when they're doing great, I'm supposed to be like, you gotta put harder. And like, that's so not my personality, is to be like, so for the most part.
You're not hurt, get up.
Right. It's like, so not me. So I was like the football coach where like I was in the back and then I was just kept trying to get kids in. At least I could do that. Like, hey coach, this, he hasn't been in a bit. Because I'm just not a yeller, like at all. And I don't even have a good real stern voice as it is. So like, I was not that coach, but I will say I loved being out there. Like it was fun being part of that group. The coaches were great, but also just getting to know the boys. So it's like so many of those football players are now playing lacrosse for the sixth grade. And it's like, it's awesome because I actually know them more so than just their name in the stands and stuff. Yeah.
And it makes you feel better too about like, they go out to the wall.
Oh yeah.
So they're at the wall. Was it 2 days ago? It's raining. They've been there for like 3 hours, and like I feel good about who they're with. Like
totally.
If I know, if I know Will or Jordan or Cohen or any of those guys are out there, I'm like they're in good company.
For sure. And going back to
maybe one of them could be a voice of reason. I don't know which one, but
but if they're staying busy, that means they're staying out of trouble.
Yeah.
And what's our job as parents? It's just to, guide them through their childhood, try to mentor them, as best they can, just keep them out of trouble. Keep them from, every kid, we all make mistakes. We're all human, and so it's just especially if you're in a group setting, if idle hands, can be bad. So if they're at the wall for 3 hours, that's way better than if they're just hanging, for 3 hours at market or something.
I got busted. I don't know how old I was. Many of my friends thought it was a good idea to go like Fresh Prints and spray paint like a culvert or something.
Yeah.
And I forget how. I think they just like we must have painted something on our way to it, and so like they just followed the paint. And they're like, "What are you guys doing?" So we had to do community service or something like that. But yeah, they're better off at the lacrosse wall than doing that.
I'll tell you. So when I first met Nate Bush, who has become one of my better friends. He keeps his kids very busy, and
he has 19 of them.
I know he's got a ton of kids. So I always like, how do you do this? Like, owning your own business, coaching a million sports, and all these kids. And he's like, Tiffany's a saint. But I remember asking him, we're at Colin Palmer one night, and again, this wrestling club, you're there for 2 hours. You had nothing to do, and just a talk, right? Yeah. And so I was like, do you feel like you're overloading Willem's schedule? And he goes, no, he's been a freshman football coach for like 20 years. He goes, I am telling you, the busier you can keep a 15-year-old kid, the better it is for them and keep them out of trouble, because he's just seen, when kids have too much free time. And now that I have a 15-year-old, I do see that. Like it's way better to load their schedule. Like my son, when there's 5 days a week of stuff, he budgets his time so much better, because he knows like right when he gets home from school, he's got to study. He's got to get that out of the way. Yeah. There's no time to play video games. There's no time for any of that stuff. He's got to get it done. So because then he's got practice at like 6:30, and then he's going to get home from that at 8, and then it's dinner time, and then there's just not going to be enough time. Versus when he doesn't have anything, it's just too easy to like jump on computer and play video games.
Start scrolling.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden it's like, man, it's 8 o'clock. I have all this work to do. I don't really want to do it, So I totally am a believer in. I mean, I guess there's like a balance. You can overload things, but I do like agree with Nate's point as far as like you need to keep these kids busy. They're going to learn lots of valuable lessons in that. But it's also going to keep them from maybe
doing
dumb stuff that like they think would be funny. But it's not necessarily the best decision. Yeah, because they're kids.
Spray paint,
crap. And when you get a group of 14-year-old kids, it just takes one to implant an idea and then
yeah,
have
100%.
them go for it. So, yeah. So
And I think as long fill their schedule, lots of sports, lots of activities, whatever those may be, and not put pressure on being the best, winning championships. Like those are all important. Like I want my kid to be the best. I want to win games, but it's not the most important. And I think you'll because loading the schedule too much, and maybe one of your concerns was is it going to fizzle out? Are they going to get burned out from wrestling because we're wrestling so much? Well, if the emphasis is on you have to win every match, you have to win every period, you have to pin them. Like if that becomes the emphasis, then you're going to get burnt out. Like that's just too much pressure. Versus work your butt off, go win as much as you can. If you don't, it's 7th grade. Like we'll survive.
Yeah, man. It is funny though, how crazy some parents though, they take it. No, I'm with you. I think there's value in the effort, and so we do talk about that, at home. Like, well, did you try your best? If you tried your best, then it is what it is. I've talked about this with Jake too. I keep using him as the example because he's my oldest and he's our trial kid, right?
Yeah. The test baby.
The test baby, 100%. It's like, okay, there's few things that can really derail your life or really, change it, irreversibly, so to speak. It's like, teen pregnancy, that can, derail certain things, drugs and alcohol, and then car accidents.
Yep.
So otherwise, a bad grade on a test, you're fine.
Yeah.
You lost whatever match, you're fine.
Yeah. Live and learn.
You live and learn. It's really not a big deal. And so it's important to have those conversations all the time because these kids, I mean, they really do feel a lot of pressure, on themselves. We don't even have to put pressure on them, but there's
there's a standardized test every month, I feel like.
Oh, dude. Between MAP tests and the OST and the regular tests and all this stuff, it's very stressful,
For sure.
to be kids. And there's a lot of pressure, to be gifted nowadays and,
advanced classes and you can't just take regular math. Now we take calculus in 5th grade.
Yeah. And, I get to see it with our patient pool. Again, 80% of my patients are kids. And ortho's so awesome because you get a chance to really meet families because maybe families will have 4 kids or 3 kids or something. And so,
well, you're probably meeting families and kids that you wouldn't otherwise, right?
Oh, totally.
If they're not.
Totally.
Yeah.
But it's I've gotten to see a lot of kids where they were a superstar athlete at 7th and 8th grade. And the parents they're definitely going to be, playing D1 baseball. And it's that is awesome, And then by the time I'm treating their 3rd kid or 4th kid, their oldest is a senior. I'm like, so is he going to go play baseball somewhere? Or, is she going to go play softball? They're just really burnt out.
Yeah.
They just want to, go to college and, learn and have a good experience. And so there is that balance. You gotta not overdo it.
And I think sometimes that burnt out really means I was either told that I was the best or I was going to be the best and I'm not. And therefore it's easier not to do it because I can't live up to that. And I've coached a long time and I've seen the same thing. There's the rare ones, right? I've coached guys in the NFL right now. When those kids were coming through, that's a Division I athlete. You could just look at them and But I mean, there's so much is going to change from when they start to, let's say, the pinnacle's high school. For most people, it is there's so much ebb and flow. So much is going to change. So whoever you think is going to be the star now, they might be. Who knows? But you have no idea. So I think sometimes it's I tell my kids all the time, you don't want to be the best early on. It's not good because you don't learn to work. You don't learn to grind it out and see improvement. And Jackson playing lacrosse, he's good. He's one of the better. He's in 3rd grade. But he's 2nd grade. He's one of the better ones out there. But but he plays with his brother all day, right? So like he's at an advantage for some of those kids who don't have an older sibling playing lacrosse. So he's had a stick in his hand. He comes to all the Vinny's practices now for 2 years. Like he's going to be more advanced. So yesterday he was, he's like, they wanted to jump in the pool because that's what you do when training out. And he was like, I don't want to go to practice. He's like, I'm the best anyways. And I'm like, oh, here we go. Yeah. And so, I had a conversation with him. Like, you might be one of the better kids out there right now, but you're not better than a kid in another town. Yeah. You're not gonna, you'll be the kid that I've told you about forever that has success early on. That's not the attitude to have.
Yeah. I think, if you're the best early on, you also have a hard time dealing with failure, losing. Yeah. It can break you. But yeah, it's tough. Like, so Jake used to only do jiu-jitsu, and it was kind of like this awesome thing because there's no scholarships in jiu-jitsu. Like it's not a team sport or a school sport. So he was there, putting in what he wanted to put in. And then now with wrestling, which I've grown to love wrestling. I mean, he's done it. Awesome. He's ninth grader and he's started doing it in seventh grade. I've grown to love it, but man, it does creep into you as far as like, oh, well, you could do this in college, maybe like a D3 kind of thing. Like, do you want to do that? Yeah. And then, that's probably never the best conversations to let creep in, because then you run the risk of like, I don't know, the sport, feeling the pressure, And so
it's especially early on, there's plenty of time and you're getting close, right? And that's probably why these things are creeping in your mind. Like, there's plenty of time for that. But prior to, maybe freshman year, but prior to getting into like varsity sports, I don't know why there's so much conversation like that. Because it's again, there's rare anomalies. You're going to look at somebody and say they're a Division I athlete. But for the most part, like, there's so much to be determined. Yeah. I mean, it's crazy.
You're right. So my cousin's probably at the end of his career. He plays in Major League Baseball, and growing up, I mean, he was like always a super elite athlete. And so it's funny, even though, like, again, if my kids were baseball players, I would totally take them to DVAC because it's awesome and the place is impressive. But it's funny looking back on my cousin's childhood, where like he was a multi-sport athlete. Like he played football, basketball, and baseball, and he only played baseball during the baseball season. And there wasn't any like off season. He was from St. Louis, so it was cold weather, area. And elite is elite, right? Yeah. And I grew up in Worthington, like I said, and on my travel baseball team growing up was Nick Swisher, who ended up playing in the major leagues. And again, elite is elite. I mean, everybody knew Nick was like special, right? So like Perry Park is, Nick probably doesn't even remember why he's a switch hitter, but I promise this is why he's a switch hitter. I haven't talked to him since we were kids, so not even like I'm friends with him, but it was such a cool memory because to show like how elite he was compared to all the rest of us at baseball. So Perry Park is these 3 diamonds in Worthington, and that's where at that time, in the early 90s, the Worthington Travel Baseball played. Well, Perry 4, whatever, when you're like 14, in the right field, there's trees that come up next to the fence. And so Nick was like, I'm going to learn. He's a left-handed thrower, and when we were kids, he batted right hand. But in the majors, he's a switch hitter. Yeah. And so you're probably like, oh, he probably always switch hit. Like, that's so wrong because he didn't when we were little kids. And so that year when we were 14, he's like, my goal this year, I'm going to hit it over those trees. And like, I mean, I could never, I mean, if I was like a right-handed hitter, which I was, I'm like, okay, this year, my goal, hit left hand, I'm just going to get a base hit, right? Sure enough, I mean, it didn't take the whole season. He just bombs over those trees. And and so it's just like he was special, and the rest of us were just normal. Yeah,
you can't look at them and be like, well, I got to do it like that.
Right.
It's like because genetics are going to take over.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing you can't. There's so many things that you can impact, but you can't impact the genetics. Like, you're going to be as tall as you're going to be.
Yeah.
There's
and unfortunately, I'm not very tall.
No,
I tell my kids that. I'm like, sorry, I'm 5'9" on a good day. Yeah. It's you're probably not going to hit that 6 foot mark.
Yeah, and Dave, who was one of the co-founders of Brickhouse Blue, and we talked about his AAU program, and he talked about like analytics of Division I basketball players, and what is the height of a guard, and it's like you can't deny the analytics of it, right? Like there's not like if you're not 6 foot or taller, the odds of you doing that aren't very good.
Yeah.
I mean, like there's nothing wrong with having success at every other level. It doesn't have to be professional or Division I.
Right.
Because really, it's about like the kids love doing it. Like they're having fun.
Yeah.
I mean, they're like, they're enjoying it. So
Yeah.
keep doing it.
Well, and I think back to, I have really good high school memories from baseball, and I wasn't good enough to play past high school, and like great memories, just being on the team. And it's not even like I remember, individual hits or games. It's just like being around your buddies.
Yeah.
And so, that's one of the sad things I think nowadays, because, well, at least in New Albany, in some of these bigger D1 schools, like there's so many kids that you have to be very good at the sport just to like be on the team.
Yeah.
And I mean, the age of like multi-sport athletes seems to be like closing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can do a sport and then do track or something like that, because it's complementary to a lot of sports. But, if there's like, I don't want to say track's not a skill sport, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think track can complement so many other sports.
100%.
But if like, we were talking about lacrosse, like those really good lacrosse players, do they really want to wrestle if they're a good wrestler, or they want to do box lacrosse? I mean, a lot of them are feeling pressure like, why I can't take the winter off. And it's I bet you could. I bet you'll still be just as elite if you don't do box lacrosse, But there's like this massive pressure that like after freshman year, I think you need to specialize in something or else you're not going to make the team. And maybe there's some truth to that. I mean,
probably is. And I don't know. It's just kind of unfortunate because I feel like our kids going to lose the opportunity to play a sport they may enjoy just for the enjoyment of playing the sport because they haven't been exposed to it. To your point, if you're playing baseball, like nowadays you've got to be a really, really good baseball player. Like those are the best of the best. Well, if you just focus on baseball all the way through and it doesn't work out for you, can you just go jump on the basketball team or jump on the track? Or like that's hard because you haven't been exposed to it because you've been on one track mind.
Well, even like, New Albany football, I saw that, this year. So my oldest never played youth football and he goes and plays freshman football. Well, they run the wing tees from 3rd grade on. And so any of these kids that start playing in 9th grade,
It's tough.
They're really at a disadvantage as opposed to other schools where the middle school is very much separate from the high school, or maybe there's 2 different middle schools that are feeding into a high school. And where day one, everybody has a clean slate, like, hey, I know maybe you ran this in middle school. This is our system. We're going to get everybody coached up. 9th grade, it's like, hey, 90% of the team already knows this. You just sit back and watch. And that's a tough thing to do, even if, from a non-physical standpoint. In these other sports that are real skill-based, I mean, like, if you're 14, you're like, I think I like golf. You have no chance of making New Orleans golf team. Even if you like it. I mean, one of my buddy's sons plays in the junior high team, and there were like 4 kids or something like that shot par. I mean, how is that a possibility?
I have no idea.
3 or 4, it's crazy. So it's like you can't just like enjoy golf at 13, 14, and it's got to be your life. And now there's, we're talking about year-round facilities. There's these year-round indoor golf facilities with coaching year-round, and they have a swing coach,
at least like
all that stuff.
At least golf, that's a life sport. You can carry that on for life. It's funny. I got a text yesterday from somebody. My high school hurdle record got broken yesterday.
Oh,
yeah. So it's like 20 years standing. I'm like, that's great. It's
Yeah.
awesome because there were so many people that gotten close, and I haven't really thought about it in a long time.
Yeah.
And then somebody sent it to me, and I'm like, good. I hope it's a good kid. I don't know the kid. Heard he's a good kid, so congrats. But yeah, like some of those sports, like I can't go run anymore. You know what I mean? Like
you gonna go do hurdles?
Yeah, I tore my hamstring like racing a 6th grader at lacrosse.
Yeah.
But yeah, at least those life sports, like you're going to continue to play those: tennis, golf.
Yeah.
I mean, like your youth sports time is so short.
Yeah.
Like it's such a small window, and then you've got the rest of your life. Like that, I try and tell that to the kids too. Like enjoy it, do the best you can, go out and try and be the best, but like keep in mind what's probably more important is like where your academics are,
Yeah.
and being a good human being, because you're going to be a human being for the rest of your life. You're going to be a football player for such a short time.
Yeah, and I don't know. The tough part with academics too is, and it's probably similar to coaching styles. Like there's certain kids that respond really well to a strict coach, and there's certain kids that just melt, in not a good way, from a really strict coach. And I feel like, schools oftentimes that way too, where, maybe our school setup is like really good for like 85% of the kids, and there's that 15% that traditional school setting is kind of like tough.
Yeah.
But so it's like those kids may need some extra, I don't know, perspectives, but then it's like there's also this pressure to do all these extracurriculars, and I don't know, like we talked about, it's so hard being a kid now. I do sympathize, with these kids. I mean, between the nonstop social media, the pressure. I mean, even just to get into college, like when I went to Ohio State, it was just a joke to get in. It was so easy. Everybody in Ohio got in, and now it's like incredibly hard to get into Ohio State.
Yeah, ACT's at like 28 or something or higher, and you're right. There is.
We had curriculum night a couple months ago, because I guess how New Albany does it is most of the freshmen take very similar classes, and then after freshman year, they have this curriculum night where you can kind of like set your own pathway. I got so much anxiety over it, because it's like they're like, well, you need this many credits in order to, like, this college wants this many credits of foreign language, this college. Like, I don't remember any of that from high school. I just remember in never thinking about it and just assuming I was going to get into Ohio State, and like it was going to be fine.
That was
and
it.
I never once thought about it. Now there's so much top of mind discussion,
Well, that happened in going into middle school. Like we had a curriculum night, and it's like, okay, here's if you take this course and this course, and then here's the track, right? You can start getting college credit as a junior or whatever. And I'm like, going into middle school, we're talking about, we're taking advanced math classes, and it's like, do you want to take 8th grade science?
Yeah.
And it's like, what do I need to score on my OAT? Like, I'm like, man, we're going into middle school.
I know. And then it counts towards your high school GPA, all this stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe I was just oblivious to it all, but I just don't remember there being this much pressure, you know? Like, I mean, Jake will ask me, like, were you stressed out all the time? I'm like, no. I like was thinking about, I played golf and baseball in high school, and like was thinking about like, when can I play, and when can I, I was like, I had pretty good grades, growing up, but it just wasn't. I don't think I really understood the need to work really hard until I got to college, and I was like, oh, you need that to get into dental school? Okay, like so like I figured out how to study, and it is weird. Like I definitely figured out how to study for myself, but I don't know if kids nowadays, if anybody's ever coached them on how to study. Like I mean, for test taking. And
well, I'm gonna send my kids to your house because I can't help them with that.
Yeah, so I'll tell you, like I said, my dad's given me a lot of good advice. So when I was in college, because college, it's like, in high school you can get really good grades just by doing your homework and then doing okay on tests. But in college, a lot of it's like 25% midterm, 25% midterm, 50% final. So it's like you better learn to take a test. And so I remember complaining about that to my dad, and so he, for maybe 10 or 15 years, wrote the board exam. He was one of the writers for board exams for ear, nose, and throat doctors.
Yeah.
And so he was like, it's really, really hard to write a fair test. And a fair test is where, you don't have a lot of gotcha questions, but you have a reasonable distribution. So you want to make sure you reward the people who've put in the work and, acknowledge the people that maybe didn't. And so he's like, it's really hard to write a fair test where, you have 80% of like pretty easy questions, 10% of hard questions, 5% extra hard, and then 5% that are very hard.
Yeah.
Right? And so he was like, if you go into your studying like you're writing a fair test, I guarantee you'll write a test harder than you'll ever take. And 100% that happened. Like 100%.
So you wrote tests for yourself?
Totally. So I would.
Interesting.
I would sit down and I would read through the notes once, and I'd read through the notes twice, and then the third time I would go through and be like, okay, I'm going to write a test. I'm going to write down, if it's going to be 50 questions, I'm going to write down, 40 concepts that are like the most basic.
Yeah.
And then do that. And it really worked because, I like graduated college summa cum laude. I was number one in my dental class.
Something worked.
Yeah, I had like a 99th percentile on boards, and so that little piece of advice was like remarkable because if you're trying to write a test, you do internalize the question so much more than just trying to.
It's got to be way harder to write it.
Way harder
to take it.
And then you're like, you're writing it and you write a question down. And you're like, nah, they're never gonna ask that. That's way too, that's not a good point, Yeah. And so, and it was amazing how many times I write a question where like something very similar would be on the test. Like, yeah, I've seen that before.
Wow.
But yeah, so I would always write a harder.
So are you going to start writing tests for the board?
No. I'm not going to do that.
You volunteering?
No. It's hard enough with all the stuff. No, I won't be doing that. But it was a good piece of advice. So I've talked to my oldest about that, about like trying to do that. But it's very weird for me to help them study because everything's on that tablet, and I need a book. I need to it feels good to highlight to me, and it doesn't feel good to use my finger on a tablet and highlight.
Yeah.
So I am that like old guy that I don't know. I would struggle with school right now where everything is just on. Have you helped Vinny with anything?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I don't.
It's miserable.
It is. So I keep paper in the drawer.
Yeah.
And it's like whatever he's working on, I just got to grab a piece of paper.
Dude, I bought a used chemistry textbook this year so I could help, like if Jake had chemistry questions, because like at first he was like, here, like I don't really understand this, and I tried to find it on the tablet. I'm like, this is
so
nonsense.
You're looking at the book now?
Yeah. Awesome. So I bought a textbook, and it's like, why can't they just have a textbook? Like textbooks are written so they're well organized and like they're easy to understand, and you can have everything right there. I don't get it.
I mean, our textbooks gone? They got to be. Like I'm wondering.
In New Albany.
Yeah, I wonder like even in college, like are they still? I mean, are they selling physical textbooks?
I don't know.
Yeah, because I was the same way. Like highlight, like even now when I read, like folding corners different ways, so I know where to go back and reference things. Yeah,
totally.
And I talked to Colleen Barber about this. The way that they can manipulate the tablet when they're doing homework is particularly math. It's like I can't wrap my head around it. Can't do it. I need a piece of paper.
And I was like good at math. And I cannot, however they're doing it, I can't do it. And then in chemistry, they have this like paper notebook that they take notes in. But like if your kid, like Jake has terrible handwriting. So like if, at least to me, I can't read it. So I'm like trying to read his terrible notes. And I'm trying to help him. Like, can't they just have a textbook? Like this would make it so much easier.
Yeah.
And but then the problem with the textbook is like, maybe the teacher added something, different flavor to it than what they have, and I don't know. It's I think
college has got to be a completely different experience than we had. Like with,
has to be.
I mean, with AI,
you
can write whatever you want.
Yeah.
I mean, have AI write it. So I don't know how they dodge that. I'm
Yeah.
sure there's a way, but like
Have
the
you
best
used,
we
have
had
you
was
used ChatGPT
all
or
the
anything?
time.
All the time, right? Like there's nothing better for trip planning. It's like, hey, I'm gonna go to New York City for a week with my family. Give me like 20 restaurants, 20 museums, like everything. And it's like, that sounds like a great idea that you're gonna go to New York. You're gonna make life lasting memories, and it gives you like the most incredible stuff. It's like, wow.
Yeah. I even pay for one of them because it remembers things.
Oh, okay.
And so like I use it in I use the heck out of it.
Which one do you use?
So I use Grok.
Grok. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've only used Gemini and ChatGPT, but I know Grok is supposed to they have different voices and different personalities. Like if you can fit
it's hilarious.
Yeah.
You could do you sky's the limit. But I mean they're all I think fairly capable, I guess. But yeah, I use it for everything. I used it the other day. Vinny got so mad at me because I used Grok to like prove a point, and he was like, "I'm not." Oh, it was something about the order in which our kids take showers. This big fight, like who's going to go first, who's going to go last, and so I was like, "Hey, Grok, how would you handle this?" Just being funny.
Yeah.
And it was like, "Oh, just make gave me all these suggestions." So I was like, "I'm going to take one of these suggestions," and the kids were like, "No, we're not listening to a computer. Like you didn't think of this." So
What were the suggestions?
Yeah, so it was like one was to incentivize for going early. The one that I really liked was set a time that they have to be done by. So like 9 o'clock, everybody has to be done. I don't care what order you go in, but here's what happens if you're not done by 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
I like that one because then they can figure it out with each other. Get done by 9. If you don't be last, because if it was my sibling and I was in there at 8:30, I wouldn't walk out till 9. Yeah. So that's kind of like, and then charting it like, okay, you go first, you go second, you go third, you go fourth, which I didn't want to do or manage or think about, but. So I kind of stuck on the like, got to be done by 9. That's it. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's working, but
yeah, it's well. So my, I referenced like my dad saying he's the child of the Depression. So on my mom's side, my grandfather, I mean they all like lived through the Depression, and I remember him telling me this story where, there was one bathtub, and so like that was one water. And so if you were the last one,
it was not.
Yeah, it was like, so like, oh man, it's like fighting over who, the order of the showers. At least they get like fresh water, right?
Here we are.
We're selling. I read this article one time where like the richest person 100 years ago, lives overall kind of a worse standard of life than some of, our poorer people, in the sense of like, there was no anesthesia, like, if you needed, anything dental, terrible, just sanitation, you'd walk around, the streets and there'd just be manure everywhere. Yeah. And, because everything was horses. And so, infections were all over the place. And
these were the wealthy people back then.
Yes. Yeah. Like the richest people, and no air conditioning, no heat, really just like, really a terrible standard of living by today's standards. And we have this, you can go to the store and get, a little, smartphone that's disposable almost, so, it's always good to like, I think, bring it back when kids are complaining of whatever. It's like, do you realize like how lucky we are to live in?
This is how you know you're old, by the way.
Yeah.
When you start having these conversations.
Oh, 100%, 100%.
Uphill both ways.
For sure. I mean, the textbook thing, like I think my kids think I'm like totally ancient, right? And I'm fine with that. I like now, like if I'm not in bed by 9:30, like I'm like kind of irritated. Like I'm that guy too, where it's like, oh my gosh, we were driving. So I love pizza. Pizza's kind of like my favorite thing. And so for my birthday, which was in March, I love Hound Dog's Pizza down by campus. Yeah. The Smoke and Joe's crust is amazing. So we go down there, and then there's this milkshake place I love down there called Shake Number 8. It's amazing. They have these gigantic milkshakes. Phenomenal. So anybody who's listening, Hound Dog's Pizza with the Smoke and Joe's crust, Shake Number 8, campus. Awesome.
Shake Number 8.
Shake Number 8. Awesome. So anyway, so we're driving by, and I think it was like Jordan was like, I think I'd rather just like live at home. Like these don't, I don't know if I want to live down here if we go to Ohio State. And I was like, no, you're going to want to not live at home. And he's like, well, why would I do that? Like I have a bed. And because I've described my they're like, what was your dorm like? And my dorm was like as big as this podcast room. And there were 3 guys living in there, smelled terrible. Right. And so that's when he's like, I think I just want to live at home. And I was like, no. Because, when it's Thursday and it's 11:30 at night and you're like, should we go out? Like you can just like go out. And if you're at home, we're gonna be like, the hell you're going out.
Exactly.
You're staying here. And he's like, why would I go out that late? And I'm like, I don't know why anybody does at this point. I'm like in bed by 8:30, but I definitely remember
it happened. It will happen to you.
It will happen. You will love staying out late and being up late. And now though, like I don't know. I'm like, talking about me being an old man. Yeah. It's just like if I eat too much pizza, then I get heartburn all night. Yeah. So it's like, there's not, youth is a wonderful thing for many reasons.
I'm telling you, it's 40. Everybody says 40 is when it happens.
I think
40. Yeah. Like everything changes.
I would agree with that. I mean, but I was bitching about that to my dad right around when I was 40. I was like, God, my back is really starting to hurt. He's like, wait till you're 50, then wait till you're 60.
Yeah.
Wait till you're 70, and then so I'm sure it just gets worse. But like I was so. New Albany Wrestling had this thing, like a duel last weekend, and Jake lost a match to this kid who's like a national Greco wrestler.
Wow.
And this kid body slammed him, like flipped him over, body slammed him. It looked so painful. And he got up and lost that match, but then went on and wrestled 3 more matches and won and looked good. And afterwards, he's like, oh, my neck is killing me. And I was like, what happened? He's like, well, that second match when he, flipped me, like I landed on my neck. And I'm thinking, how great is it to be a kid? You can like land violently and still wrestle 3 more matches. And you're just like, yeah, my neck's a little tight. I think I'd have to miss work for like 3 months. I don't know. I mean, something terrible, right? So it's like being 15, you just stretch your neck a little bit. You're like, yeah, I'm all right.
We were doing something in the yard. I was mowing or something like that, and Natalie was like headed towards me. I was like out by the fire pit or something, and I turn around and she's on the ground crying. I don't know if she's laughing, crying, or hurt crying, but she rolled her ankle just like in a hole in the ground.
Oh,
it's swollen. The next morning, she's like got to unlace her shoes to put them on. I was like, oh man, it's the same spot that all of our kids play football and everything on.
Yeah,
they've probably rolled their ankle in that hole,
and they don't get hurt.
Yeah.
Well, it's like Bevelheimer, where the kids are playing football. No one ever gets injured except the coaches. We're just like walking by, and damn it, like ow, and it's like, can't they turf this for us?
Really. I have to fight all this grass.
Right.
Come on now.
It's terrible.
That's funny. Well, let's wrap up a little bit. I would like to finish with like, what do the Shirks do in New Albany? What do you guys? So outside of school and sports, like you get a weekend where you don't have something. What are you gonna do?
Yeah. So, before the kids really started getting activities, we used to every weekend explore Ohio, and so that was like our thing was to, whether it be going hiking or going to like parks in the state, or even going to like just random things like
Ohio has
Roscoe
some
Village
sweet
and
state
Coshocton,
parks.
So there, or like Mohican, which is beautiful. You don't think you're in Ohio, but even like fun things like what is it? It was this state park that's kind of near Springfield, because we would like go hike there and then have Young's Dairy, which is delicious ice cream.
Yeah.
So that we were always trying to like explore Ohio.
That's cool.
And then the kids got old enough, and now they're in all these different activities. But
I feel like I don't leave town ever.
Yeah. I mean,
stuck here.
It's like Westerville, New Albany, and like Gahanna. It's like our little piece of pie of Columbus. We randomly will go downtown, but for the most part, everything, like our whole life is like right there. But I'll say, so we moved to New Albany in 2012, and it's awesome. I mean, having, Market Street and having like a very walkable community. I mean, I don't think we leave just because we don't need to, right? I mean, everything's just kind of right here. We have a dog, so walk and Hank when the weather's nice, and just hanging out here. I think it'd be great if we could get just a few more restaurants, then I never have to leave. But
so that seems to be it always comes down to the restaurants, and I don't disagree. But yeah, it seems to be. I mean, there's all this development going on, right? So we're gonna get more restaurant options.
Yeah, it's wild to drive by. You're talking about the one that's like north.
Yeah.
The 605 and Central College, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know enough about that. Like, what is happening with that? Because I remember there was going to be development, and then it got, and then now I drove up there and everything's torn down.
The trees are gone.
Yeah.
It's what's the movie where it's like cartoonish? They harvest all the trees for the cotton or like the material. But anyways, I think it's going to be like I think if you go to the website, they have like the plans for it. But it's going to be like mixed. So I think they're going to have some retail, probably some office space, but I also think there's going to be like living there too.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it looks pretty cool.
Yeah.
It It almost looked like an outdoor Easton, like a miniature version of it.
Yeah.
It looked neat.
You know, one thing I've definitely noticed and just observed, whether it be Pataskala or, like we talked about earlier, New Albany or whatever, at the end of the day, you can't really stop growth. You can try to, to slow it down, but, if investment's going to come, it's going to come.
Yeah.
And, it's like, go back to Worthington, in the 60s. There was like tons of farmland still, and now it's completely developed and landlocked, and that's just kind of how it's going to be. And I understand people wanting to preserve, the community that it's been, but I do feel like New Albany, the planners do a really good job of trying to keep a small feel and sustained growth. I mean, it to me, I mean, I don't know enough about it for sure, but as a resident of the community, it seems like they try very hard to put a lot of effort and planning, and not just like, okay, well, all this stuff's happening, we'll figure it out later.
Yeah. It's easy to criticize, right?
Yeah.
Like, there are people way smarter than me making the decisions, and is it the best? I don't know, but it's a pretty cool place to be.
Yeah, I mean, it's like,
I can't complain.
Founders Day parade's like Saturday, right? And it always is the most amazing thing to me, because during the parade, there's just insane amounts of candy all over the street. And then 30 minutes later, it's gone. All the city sweepers, the sweepers are out, and it's just like, it's gone, as if a parade did not happen.
A movie set.
It's unbelievable. So it's like, there's these amazing things.
The events are awesome too.
Yeah.
Like Founders Day is really cool.
Yeah.
The 4th of July is a huge hit every year. And some of that stuff's changing now. So some of those events are with the city. So there was like the New Albany community events, like managed a bunch of it, and then the city manages some of it, and then the chamber managed some of it. The city's taking some more of those events on.
Okay.
So they're going to change. They're just going to get bigger and better.
Yeah, yeah.
Like Oktoberfest is going to be a new location.
Oh, really? I actually like October, like where it is right now.
So it's going to be at Rose Run, like where the bridge is, where they do Taste of New Albany. If you've ever done that, so they're going to use that space.
So they'll just close off the street.
They're gonna close. So for Oktoberfest, they're gonna close Dublin Granville.
Yeah,
they're gonna have a huge TV screen. Like if you're standing on the bridge looking at the school.
Yeah.
And it I don't want to give it all away, but there's going to be some really cool stuff there.
Yeah. That's cool.
And then 4th of July, same thing. Some things are going to change there. It's just going to keep getting bigger.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like the people who are planning these things are well-intentioned.
Oh, yeah.
Know? And
100%.
And it's great. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Anything else?
No, I mean, I don't know if we talked about the stuff you want to talk about, dove into like parenting and finances and stuff, but yeah, this was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was.
It was just like I was just hanging out at a ball game.
That's yeah, and I'm looking at the time. It's been an hour and 20 minutes. And
nice.
I feel like we just keep going.
Yeah, we just keep going. So another time we'll come back.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm kind of looking forward to that. Like some of the people that I've sat down with, to be able to do it again.
Yeah.
Like to see where it goes. But no, we touched on New Albany. We touched on sports.
Love
kids,
it.
So,
cool.
Hey,
awesome.
Thanks again, man. Appreciate
Thanks, buddy.
it. Be sure to follow us on social media for news, updates, everything that's happening in New Albany. You can visit whitefencelivingpodcast.com. Look forward to seeing you on the next episode of White Fence Living.
What I love about New Albany is the holiday tree lighting.
I love the Heights Center.
The walkability and convenience.
My favorite part of New Albany is you.